Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Not gonna get that shot.
I'm Rabbi Mark Blazer from Jewish Life Television. Over 50 years ago, my father, Phil Blazer, of blessed memory, started Jewish media enterprise that would eventually grow to be Jewish Life Television, a 24/7 Jewish television network, which he envisioned to be the voice of the Jewish people. So about 20 years ago, JLTV went on as a full-time linear channel. And unfortunately, my father passed away 3 years ago. I miss him every day, but on October 7th, I thank God that he wasn't here in this world to see what happened. And 2 days ago, I thank God that he didn't see what happened right here in his hometown in Southern California, that right here a Jew was murdered. I'm going to introduce the person who was standing here when that happened. But I want to say, on behalf of our community, on behalf of Jewish people around the world, stop killing us, whether it's in Israel or it's here in Southern California. I want to introduce Jonathan Aswax right now. He's going to tell you his story. He's going to tell you what happened here. Jonathan's going to tell you what happened here at this place less than 48 hours ago.
Hey everybody. This isn't what I do for a living, so please forgive me if somebody poke me if I start to ramble or I go off track. But I met Paul Kessler 2 weeks ago prior to the protest of that week. So whatever date Sunday was, back up 7 days, and we met the week prior. We met on Nextdoor. I picked up on social media that there was a demonstration, a pro-Hamas, anti-Israel demonstration that was going to take place right here in the community where I live. And I'm a Jew. Paul graciously answered my call. And he said, I'll be there with you. But it was just me and Paul. So 2 weeks ago, on Sunday, Paul and I met. We walked down here. The protest was going strong. And I said, let's just take out our phones and walk through the crowd and see what's going on. Came from this side. There were some young men sitting on this wall over here, harassing us. We crossed over the street. When we crossed over the street, there was no place for us to walk. I'm not the smallest guy in the world, but I'm not the biggest guy either. And I was pushed into the street. I had my phone going, and I stumbled. And as I turned around to see who pushed me, and I captured him on the video, and then I put my camera back down, and I got this. Flashed a gun at me. I have his pictures. He was tailing me from here to that corner, to that corner, to that corner, and back here again. Paul and I decided to leave. We talked about coming back this past Sunday. I don't even know what the date was. What was Sunday's date? The 5th. We talked about coming back on the 5th. And we tried to organize better than we were organized the week before. We put out a call to get some flags. We put out a call for some people. I did this on the Nextdoor app. I was banned from the Nextdoor app. I only put out an invite, sort of like a call to action for a protest. And I was completely banned, and I was told that it was disrespectful. And I said, what about my First Amendment right? It doesn't apply on a social media platform. And I said, well, that's a big fuck you to all the Jews, isn't it? And I said, you haven't heard the end of this from me yet. So Paul and I decided that we were going to come back. There was a lot of things on social media during the week. Paul and I realized that they were planning, the Palestinian, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel terrorists planned to be here at 3 o'clock. They changed the time a couple times. And I said, Paul, let's get there at least an hour to an hour and a half before them, so we can take the corners. So we're sitting across the street at Paul Martin's. There's a fountain there. There's 4 sides to the fountain. It's square. He and I are sitting on the leg that's facing going with this traffic. I got a phone call from a friend, and he said, hey, I see your face on social media live. You're being watched. And I looked up, and I see 2 men and then 3 men sitting on the bench 90 degrees to us. One of those men I recognize as the murderer. The other man was an extreme agitator. And the other fellow was just a young fellow. I couldn't tell very much about him. Didn't look like the guy that pulled the gun on me. I said, Paul, my friend's here with the flags. Let's go get the flags. We came over here, went behind the bank to meet my friend with the flags. We got the flags. I said, okay, let's stand here. We had 3 flags. We had the Israeli Mogen David, we had the American flag, and we had the Gadsden flag, the one commonly known as the Don't Tread on Me flag. Paul insisted on holding the Israeli flag. I asked him at least 3 times to give it to me. Paul was a lot smaller than I am. He was like David. He was proud to hold that flag against the giant. He told me that he did a little research, and in these kinds of protests, somebody taking a megaphone and putting it in your ear for purposes of harassing you is an assault. And I said, are you sure about that? And he said, yes. And he cited the statute to me. He sent it to me on my phone. I looked at it. I'm not a lawyer, just an engineer. It looked meaningless to me. I didn't know. And I really don't care. So, as they start to come in numbers, and they're coming from between Paul Martin's and the Social Monk, which, by the way, the security team from that Promenade Mall kept checking and checking and checking. And I'm thinking, why don't they stop these people from parking there? Allowing them to park there is giving them opportunity to perpetrate this. But it wasn't any of their interest. So, as we see them coming, and they're setting up a public address system that unfortunately makes this look like a toy.
He was blessing us, as you heard, going all day long.
They brought a public address system and a generator, and when they started, test 1, 2, check, check, we're here. You could hear it as clear as you can hear my voice right now, assuming you can hear my voice. Now I start to see they're crossing the street, and I said, Paul, it's going to be best for us to be seen if we split up. I'm going to go on that corner. Give me the Israeli flag. Nope, we've been through this before, John. I'm holding the Israeli flag. So I crossed over the street, holding the two flags that I had. And I held that corner. It wasn't long before the men that were videoing me and Paul stood behind me right on that corner there with the megaphone in my ear, exactly the way he told me it was going to happen. And the way this works is the guy with the big system over there is calling out whatever the chant is, and then it gets repeated and echoed on all the corners with the megaphones. The murderer is standing behind me with the megaphone in my ear. I turned around and I said, "Get that fucking thing out of my ear. Back up." He backed up. He said, "Can I get you a water? I know you've been out here for a long time. You look hungry. Can I get you something?" "I don't want a fucking thing from you except space. Get it back." He crossed over the street because, as I said, he stalked us. He got nowhere with the bigger guy, so he went for the smaller guy. He came over here with his megaphone in his hand to do the same thing. I'm watching over there what's going on. I think you can clearly see that man crossing over there. It's obvious to me. He's got a black shirt with purple graphics on it. Got black hair, I could see him. Looks like he's wearing glasses, perhaps. I'm looking this way, and I could hear the noise starting. Then all of a sudden, I see a punch. The reason I know that I could see the punch was because it was the white megaphone flying through the air. But I didn't know what happened. There were some young men standing right behind me. Maybe mid-20s. And they said, "Oh shit, let's go see what's going on over there." I turned around. I looked him square in the eyes. I said, "Don't you fucking move. If you go over there, I'm going over there, and it's not going to end well for anybody, me included." They looked at each other and they said, "Stay here." There were some young women over there, all pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, and they were trying to calm the situation. Now you can hear the sirens coming. It's probably, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 Ventura County Sheriff's SUVs take this corner. Then the fire engines come, as loud as that fire engine that just passed here a while ago. And then the ambulance came. And I still don't know what's going on. Somebody says that somebody went to the hospital. But I had a friend over here besides Paul, and nobody came over to tell me exactly what happened. And I saw the police presence and the fire department presence here, so I figured there's no need for me to come over here. It's taken care of. They were putting up tape. They were moving people back. I could see them tending to someone over here, but I had no idea who it was. I was looking for the Israeli flag. I saw the flag propped up against this sign right on the edge over there. Then I saw the flag on the floor, and it still didn't register to me. After the police and the fire department left, and they left, why the hell did they leave? Where is the law enforcement in this city 2 weeks in a row? One, I had a gun pulled on me, and they thought it was a joke. I was harassed on social media for being a drama queen, psychotic. I know what a gun looks like. I walked over this way. I said, "Where's Paul?" Paul went to the hospital. Like, oh my God. I didn't realize it was Paul. I had no idea. Nobody came to tell me. So we had a breakdown in communications. We wrapped up the flags. I said, I need to go over to Los Robles. I went over to Los Robles. I didn't, at the time, remember, I've only known Paul for barely 2 weeks, and I'll call him my brother, but we didn't really have very much time to get to know each other. So I'm embarrassed to tell you I didn't know his last name at the time when I walked into the ER. And they said, "How can I help you, sir?" He said, "I'm here to check on a friend that was just brought in a little while ago." "What's his name?" "I only know his first name, I'm sorry. His name is Paul, but I think his last initial is M." They looked through the register, there's no Paul M. She said, "Let me go in the back and check." She comes out and she said, "All I can tell you is I found who you're talking about. You don't have his last initial, his last name doesn't start with an M, but I can't give you any more information. The sheriffs want to talk to you. Can you hang around?" Yeah, the same sheriffs that left here without collecting the evidence, without collecting the murder weapon, without taking the son of a bitch that hit him. If it was me and I hit somebody, I would have been handcuffed and taken away. This is the same bullshit that's happening in our streets. They're letting people go through our shopping centers, destroying them. The police presence is nowhere to be found. Nowhere. None of you are safe. I don't know if you even realize that. It's not being reported on the news. Hopefully this will get the trick done. I asked a friend of mine last night, who's a retired FBI agent. I said, "Let me ask you a question. How are we going to be protected? When I look at what's going on the television in Europe, in Chicago, in New York City, the sheer numbers of these people dwarf the police departments. I experienced it myself. They want nothing to do with it. They told me who had the gun, and I said, I have a picture of the guy. Point him out. And I said, here's how it works, in case you don't know. They split up onto 4 corners. It's either hood up or hood down, mask up or mask down. And then they go to that corner, and then they change their disguise. So I don't know that I can exactly pick them out, but I got a picture.
Of the guy with the gun and the killer.
So the guy's standing over there arguing with me, as if he's going to take me to jail for having a gun pulled on me. So this FBI agent told me last night, he said, until the governors come out and bring the National Guard, you're on your own. Take care of yourself. Watch your 6. And so that's what it is now. Thank God for the Second Amendment, I guess, right?
It's the guy from the same guy from last night.
So Jonathan is going to.
You guys are not safe
You're not
here.
even-
You're not safe
You're not
there.
even showing
Somebody
again.
can come and hit you. You're not safe. No kidding. We've seen it before.
So Jonathan is going to be here. I'm going to have. I'm going to have somebody, a good friend, say a few words. You know, 85 years ago this week, the world got a first glimpse at the brutality of the Nazis. in an event that we call Kristallnacht. And 1 month ago, the world got a very clear view of what would happen to Israel if it wasn't protected and if it didn't have the resources and the support of millions of Americans and people around the world. The events of October 7th have been a wake-up call, unfortunately. Never again doesn't mean that we can protect every Jew every place in the world. But what it does mean is that when a Jew is killed, when the brutality of the pogroms, of what happened in Israel 1 month ago today, there will be justice. And there will be justice, there must be justice for the murder of Paul Kessler. There must be justice for those that are being held hostage right now, for the people of Israel who are being shelled right now. And I want to introduce somebody who has been a leader in our country on behalf of the Jewish community. Elon Carr, who was previously in the last administration the special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. He's currently the CEO of the Israeli-American Council. And he's a hero who served our country overseas as a member of our armed forces. And I want to introduce a friend and a great leader, Elon Carr.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'll be brief. 1 month ago today, the world bore witness to a genocidal pogrom against the Jewish people. By now, the casualties are well known, but they bear repeating because the numbers are incomprehensible. 1,400 people, men, women, and children, murdered, often with acts of unspeakably sadistic cruelty. Babies were beheaded, children murdered in front of their parents, parents in front of their children, entire families burned alive. 5,400 wounded, and over 240 babies and children and women and elderly dragged into the hell of Hamas captivity. One would have thought that in light of such unspeakable cruelty, that the forces of Jew hatred would take a break. There would be some moderation in the extent to which anti-Semitism is practiced and preached openly. But alas, in the last 30 days, we have seen the most shocking rise in anti-Semitism and in anti-Semitic incidences ever recorded. And I know something about this because, as the rabbi said, I was the special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. Every year, we saw a new record in anti-Semitic attacks, but it pales in comparison to what we've seen since October 7th. And we must ask ourselves, how could it be? How could it be that anti-Semitism, that Jew hatred, would rise after a genocidal attack against Jews? Well, the answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about the threat facing the Jewish people. And we in the Jewish community have been saying over and over again for the last 30 days that what is happening on our streets, what is happening on social media, what is happening in our schools, and what is happening on our campuses is intolerable and unsustainable. And we have also been saying that if this continues unabated, somebody is going to die. By the way, my friend and colleague Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, said those words 3 nights ago. If this continues, someone is going to die. And here we are today. We talk often of the First Amendment. But you know what? It's not only bad people who have a First Amendment right. The good guys do as well, including to speak out against genocide, including to speak out against anti-Semitism, and yes, including, as Paul so desperately wanted, to hold the flag of the State of Israel. And for that act, protected under the First Amendment, Paul paid the price, the ultimate price. He paid with his life. We are here today not only to bear witness to what happened, but to make demands. That's right, to make demands. Enough is enough. We're done with attacks against Jews. We're done with attacks against Jews in the Jewish homeland. We're done with attacks against Jews in Dagestan. We're done with attacks against Jews in London and in Paris and in Brussels. And we're done with attacks against Jews in New York and in Los Angeles. Now is the time for all people of goodwill to come together in total unity against this despicable and vicious rise in hate. And I will also announce to you today that 1 week from today, on Tuesday, November 14th, hundreds of thousands of us are going to Washington, D.C. to march in front of the policymakers of our country to demand that Israel win this war for its survival, and that we fight against anti-Semitism and roll back this appalling rise in Jew hatred. That's 1 week from today. I thank you all for covering this. I thank you all for being here. John, thank you for bearing witness about this atrocious act. And Rabbi, thank you for having all of us here and for organizing this.
So, in case you missed this, 1 week from today in Washington, D.C., and I'm beseeching everyone who's hearing this, to the Jewish community, to the Gentile community, to everyone who loves freedom and democracy and who wants to stand with Israel, to come to Washington, D.C. next week. And wherever you are in the coming days, I want you to do what Jonathan did, what Paul did, to stand with Israel. That no one should be afraid to have an Israeli flag in this country. That this will never happen again. Be careful, be safe. Go out with bigger numbers. So the challenge is to go out and to be with a large group of people. Make the group big. Don't let individuals, 2 or 3 people, go out with 10, 15, 100 people with the flag. To the millions of Americans out there who stand with Israel, we feel your support. We're going to need you in these coming days. Let me be clear. A man was killed in this spot for having an Israeli flag. The cantor of Mr. Kessler's synagogue is standing right here. My friend Cantor Kenny Ellis. And right now here at this place, as his funeral is being conducted today, we're going to share the prayer that's being said in his honor. The El Maleh prayer. God, full of mercy, grant perfect rest and peace to Paul Kessler, who has now entered eternity. May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. And may he rest in peace.
Say menucha achat kanfei hashchina shemahalot kedoshim utehorim kezohar harakia mazhirim et nishmat shehalach הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על נשכבו, ונאמר אמן.
עם ישראל חי!
עם ישראל חי!
עם ישראל חי!
עם ישראל חי!
Bring them hope! 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 Bring them hope!
What you do with this footage from today is going to be all telling. We'll know if it gets the right kind of coverage by maybe we'll see a slight change in the tide.
Free Gaza.
God willing.
Free Gaza.
Listen, I want to say one more thing. I shouldn't have to say this. The tragedy compounded by the fact that if this murder had happened about 3 blocks down that way, there's a county DA that would probably take the perpetrator and give him counsel. I'm hoping, I'm praying that the law enforcement in Ventura County, that those who administer justice in Ventura County, the people who are going to bring justice to Ventura County, will do right by Mr. Kessler and his family. So thank you all for being here today. And again, we're going to have a chance. You have the phone numbers for contact, and the photos that are available too, that we made available to the press. And I want to thank Jonathan for making those photos available and for living this nightmare that he has been over these last couple of days. He is a hero, and again, I want to thank him, and I know he's not going to stop being here at these protests.
I do want to say something. I'm not a hero. I'm standing on the shoulders of 6,001,400 heroes to do what I did. And I will do it again. And I don't care where it is, where I have to go. Never again means never again. Enough is enough. It's up to you, the media, to deliver the message. Don't make my friends' death be meaningless, please. Don't be afraid of the public sentiment, which is anti-Semitic right now. Put the message out there. There are good people that will receive that message and know what to do with it.
Jonathan, thank you for speaking. Before you step away, Sandra Mitchell from KTLA5. I'm curious if you could step back in front of the microphone. What you told the investigators about the incident? What did you tell the deputies?
What did I tell the deputies? I told them what I witnessed. I told them the timeline of what happened. I told them about how angry I was at the fact that a gun was pulled on me and they did nothing about it, and now a man is dead. And I said, so I guess Jews aren't important. And he said, please don't say that. That's not the case. And I said, but that seems to be the message. I turned over the pictures, called me a few more times, and then I didn't know that Paul had succumbed to his injuries. All day long yesterday, I'm texting Paul. I'm calling Paul. It's going directly to voicemail. Then all of a sudden, where's Amir? Amir, my friend, sends me a text and he said, please tell me this isn't true. I saw it and I was broken. I was broken that he died at 1 a.m. in the morning. And then I contacted the sheriff again. And I said, I sent him the text that Amir sent me, which was a copy paste from some social media. I said, please tell me this isn't true. And he said, I can't comment on it. And I said, Detective, I spent, I don't know how much time on the phone with you. I gave you all the media that I had. This is my friend. I am broken from this. And he said, my orders from my superiors are that I cannot say anything at this time. That's what happened.